Let's be honest, we've all had it with terrible customer service. But what if AI could actually be the solution? Today, we're diving into a new kind of AI that's, well, it's so much more than those chatbots we all love to hate. Think less bot and more employee. You know the feeling, right? You're stuck in that digital loop, just hammering speak to a human into a chat window over and over again. It's infuriating. Well, that exact nightmare scenario is what this new wave of agentic AI is built to destroy. So what's the real difference here? Well, we're making a massive leap. On one side, you've got the old way, slow, rule-based, kind of dumb. And on the other, you have what's called agentic support. Think dynamic, think instant, think personalized. This isn't just a fresh coat of paint, folks. We're talking about a total overhaul of automated support as we know it.
Okay, so to really get our heads around this, we have to ditch the word chatbot. Seriously, it just doesn't do justice to what's happening here. And here's the big mental switch we need to make. We've got to stop thinking bot and start thinking automated support employee. So what's the big deal? Well, these things don't just spit out pre-written answers. They actually understand what you want. They can tap into the same company's systems a human agent uses, and this is the absolute game changer, they can perform actions on your behalf. So what are we talking about in terms of capabilities? Well, their skill set is pretty impressive. They can figure out your actual intent, not just the keywords you typed. They can go and check your order status or even process that refund for you. And maybe most importantly, they're smart enough to know when they're out of their depth and need to escalate to a human. And the whole time, they're learning from every single interaction. All right, that all sounds great, but how does it actually work? Let's pop the hood and see how one of these agents thinks its way through a real customer problem. So how can an AI possibly think like a person? Well, it's not magic, I promise. It's actually a really logical, step-by-step process, one that's designed to mimic exactly what a great human agent would do. So let's watch one in action. We'll follow it as it handles a basic refund request. Okay, step 1. The agent has a thought, this user wants a refund for this specific order. So it takes an action. It pings the company's internal system to check on the order's status. Then it gets an observation back. Okay, the order was delivered on January 18th. See, just like a human would, it's starting by gathering the basic facts. Right, so it's got the delivery date. What's the next logical step? Well, a human would check the company rules, and that's exactly what the agent does. Its next thought is, I need to check the official refund policy. The action? It searches the company's knowledge base. And the observation it gets back is, refunds are allowed within 30 days. Boom. Now it has the 2 pieces of info it needs and knows it can move forward. So now, with all its ducks in a row, the agent has its final thought. Okay, I'm cleared to process this refund. So it takes the final, decisive action. It calls the right API to make it happen. The last observation is the confirmation. Refund successfully initiated. And just like that, problem solved. And this is the beautiful part. This is what you see on your end. A simple, clear, helpful message telling you it's done. No waiting on hold, no getting transferred 3 times, just a solution. And get this, that whole thought process we just walked through, it probably took less than 5 seconds. That whole reasoning loop is super powerful, right? But it doesn't just happen. It's all built on a stack of cool technologies working in perfect harmony. So let's take a peek inside the agent's toolkit. Okay, so this whole thinking process is really powered by a team of components. You've got the large language model, the LLM, at its heart. That's what makes it sound human. Then there's an intents classifier. Think of it as the brain that figures out your real goal. RAG, which is a fancy name for its library card, lets it look up private company info, like that refund policy. Then you have the API tools, which are basically its hands, letting it actually do things. And finally, memory. So it remembers who you are and what you've talked about before. No more starting over. So the tech is obviously very cool, but how do we know if it's actually any good? Because at the end of the day, success isn't about having flashy technology. It's about actually making things better for the customer in ways you can measure. So how do you measure that? Well, the first huge metric is something called First Contact Resolution, or FCR. It's a simple question. Did we solve your problem the very first time you asked? No follow-ups, no escalations. Getting a high number here, say 85%, tells you this thing is actually working, not just kicking the can down the road. Next up is speed. I mean, who hasn't been stuck on hold listening to terrible music for what feels like a lifetime? Because these agents can automate all that busy work, the fact-checking, the button pushing, they can crush the average handling time. We're talking about turning a 15-minute phone call into a 2.5-minute chat. That's a huge difference.
And this right here shows one of the biggest wins, especially for the company. It's called ticket deflection. Basically, every single time the AI agent solves a problem on its own, that's a support ticket that a human never has to even see. And that's not just about saving money. It's about freeing up your expert human team to focus on the really gnarly, complex problems where they're needed most.
And look, this is not some far-off future stuff. It is happening right now across all kinds of industries. We're talking e-commerce for tracking your orders and handling refunds, telecom for figuring out why your Wi-Fi is slow, banking for card disputes, even travel for rebooking flights on the fly. This tech is a real Swiss Army knife. Okay, so whenever you talk about automation this powerful, there's always the big elephant in the room. What about people's jobs? But the way people are thinking about this isn't about replacement. It's actually all about partnership. The goal here is really a hybrid model. Let the AI handle the massive volume of routine stuff, the 70 or 80% of questions that are pretty straightforward. That then empowers your human experts to focus on the tricky, high stakes, or emotionally charged situations where you really truly need a human. And that's really the sign of a genuinely intelligent system. It's not about pretending it can solve everything. It's about being smart enough to know its own limits, to know exactly when to raise its hand and say, you know what? Let me connect you to a human specialist right away. The goal is a smooth handoff, not another frustrating brick wall. Which really brings us full circle back to the single most important idea here. We have got to move on from the word chatbot. The new way to think about this is automated support employee. It's a completely different mindset, and it totally changes what we should expect from automated help. And that leaves us with a pretty massive question to chew on. If we can automate customer support with an AI that thinks and acts like an employee, what's next? What other jobs out there are ready for their own automated counterpart? That's the future that's unfolding right in front of us.